Would you agree that there is that your country suffers from a deep and divisive systemic racism?
I believe that there is systemic racism in the United States, and I think that that is part of our history. I think it's frankly something that we've been dealing with for 300 years. And something we continue to deal with. I think a lot of people thought, in a somewhat oversimplified way, that the election of Obama in 2008 put an end to our centuries of racial division. And I think that what we see this week, and tragically week after week, is that's just simply not true, that we still have a lot of healing.
Right. Obama's critics these weeks and months would say that when it comes to race and this question of systemic racism, Obama has been all great speeches and positive words, and not enough action. Well, are they right?
Oh, I disagree. And this is so. Again, we are talking about 300 years of pain here. That this is not something that changes overnight. This does not change with the election of an African American president. This does not change like that. This is about. This is about something that's much deeper. But what has the government done? And this is where I think we need to talk about the progress, despite acknowledging the real challenges, also acknowledging the progress that has been made, because everything that she mentioned, which is true, it has, I think that you couldn't make the argument that it has not gotten better over the last 50 years.
So it has nothing to do with a president that might not have done enough?
I think that the way that Barack Obama has talked about race is certainly in my lifetime. So I was born in 1974. It was post-civil rights movement, post-Martin Luther King. The way that he has talked about race has been the most personal and intense conversation that we've had about race, I would argue, in my lifetime. And I think that is inherently healthy for the United States.
And nobody would disagree, I would say, when talking about Obama's rhetorically, you know, the way of doing things. But we're talking about actions. So what are the main issues, you know, items of progress that Obama has made when it comes to race?
Well, so let's look at Dallas, for example. Let's look at the Dallas Police Department, and let's look at the progress that as tragic as what happened there a couple of days ago was. Let's look at where they have come from. They have an African American police chief. They had a history of racial complaints.
This is not Obama.
But I disagree with that, because I think he has instilled in not just the federal government, but at the state and local level, the idea that we have got to deal with this systemic problem in our country.
And the critics will say that he has done so very, very, very late. Maybe because he's been forced to, and you know, almost unwillingly he has done so. In the police reform, it's only now going through Congress. It's very, very late.
But I think, Martin, that that's a bit of an oversimplified argument, simply because of the fact that most of these initiatives have to be done at the state and local level. So when you're talking about police reform, you're talking about cities actually doing it. Now, can there be sort of mandates made on the federal level? Absolutely. And I think that the president's insisted on that. But it's really something that mayors and police chiefs have to do.